Want more NASCAR content? For all the latest in NASCAR, including driver interviews, race recaps, fantasy NASCAR, listener call-in shows, and awesome giveaways, tune in to the Lap Traffic Podcast on iTunes, Podbean, or your favorite hosting site with new shows every Tuesday night. Check out Lap Traffic on the web, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, and follow on Twitter @LapTrafficPC. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!
the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker, the future is feeling.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's coverage of the Full Send Racing Series. Race number 2 takes us to Miami. We stay in Florida as the drivers get to test their skills at Homestead for the ButtKicker 200 this evening. These drivers certainly are trying to get themselves set up mentally. Tonight, the track looking to be hot, slick, and drivers unaware on how the conditions are going to evolve throughout the night. And you know one thing, the tire wear going to be the big factor we touch on for the most of the evening. But man, it came off an incredible race last week at that of Daytona, where we got to see a newcomer getting to victory lane, that of the rookie of Jonathan Woods, and that team hoping for a good run here this evening. And they're hoping that it will continue on from side-by-side racing. A lot of new drivers are starting to find their extra pace, and I can't wait, and so can't everyone else up in the booth. And joining me, as my name is Sam Dyer, is going to be that of Trevor Earhart. Trevor, tonight, drivers are looking fast, and right now it's the 32 machine that's top of the board.
Yeah, Zach Hall looking quick out there tonight as we had, just staying in Florida tonight, going to Homestead Miami Speedway. And, after last week's race dominated by the SXS guys, I'm still going to get tied up on that all season long, Sam. Those guys dominated that race last week, and looking forward to what we're going to see here tonight. Like you said, tire wear is going to be a key thing for these drivers. The trucks look loose out there, but loose can be fast, so we're going to have to see how this race is going to play out.
Loose, fast, and dramatic like that on screen. We could be seeing some massive wrecks. This track has produced a lot of wrecks when drivers just are not prepared for the loose snap feeling that the drivers can sense coming out of the corner. And right on screen is the 32 machine that is top of the board right now as well. Kyle Carpenter, top of the board, and as well rookies, newcomers of Logan Keys in Austin Call up in our top 4 with Chris Stitz showing up tonight, hoping for the 17 to run well here at Homestead. One of the drivers that made it to the Final 4. As practice is done, we get ourselves prepared for qualifying, where drivers are going to have 2 laps for 5 minutes to see who can put the fastest time down. But Trevor, here at Homestead, what are you expecting to see for qualifying?
For qualifying, I think it's gonna be who can hold on to the truck. I think you got to be aggressive here to get a good lap time. I think track position is going to definitely be key for the drivers out there, especially coming off of what we've seen in practice, what the drivers have reported back to us with how the fall off is on these tires. So you have to go out there and get everything you get for that track position. But Sam, Homestead's one of those tracks that we usually talk about being a multi-groove track, but with these track conditions and the temp being so high, it might take a while before we start to see that outer line really come into play tonight.
Yeah, and the weather is going to be something we're going to be talking about a lot here tonight. When you talk about Homestead, when it's a night race, it's pretty consistent, and pretty much drivers feel that comfortable of a lot of grip. You can try multi-groove racing for qualifying and for the race, expecting to see a lot of transitioning of the track getting warm as they are in the afternoon stages, as the drivers are ramping up for their first lap, some already on that first timed lap. But here are the weather conditions for qualifying. Drivers going to be having a 77-degree ambient temperature. Track temp for qualifying 106 degrees. A little bit of south wind pushing these drivers about 5 to 6 miles per hour. It's fluctuating just a little bit there. For Trevor, just partly cloudy, so the wind could push the cloud coverage over, but for qualifying, we're expecting the track to stay the same as Kyle Carpenter takes the first lap in that pole position for now, but I take that back. Here comes some of the rookies storming the top of the board.
Yeah, Blair Patterson with a great lap right there goes provisional P1. Austin Call, another rookie up there, provisional P2 with Christopher Wade in third as the times start to come in off these first laps. Still haven't seen the 32 of Zach Hall go across the board, but Nick Holland now up to the provisional pole.
Nick Holland, that is a good time for the 68 machine, but oh no, the 30 gonna get a little bit loose out of the corner into the inside wall, and just like that, Charles Hugel's last lap, throw it down. It was not good enough. Didn't even get to the line in time, and that is looking to be a poor time for the 30 machine. Here comes Ken Campbell, hoping for a good time. A little bit of swappage at the top of the board. Chris Stitz beats out Zach Hall, who had it just for a quick second. But here comes the 15. Ken Campbell expecting some good speed from the 15 here tonight.
Look pretty calm right there off of turn 2. That's a spot we see a lot of drivers get loose, but it's going to be down here in 3 and 4. How can you get off at turn 4? We saw it with Charles Hugel try to get a little bit too greedy on the throttle, got loose off the corner. That's going to be a spot we're going to have to watch all night long. But it looks like here Ken Campbell really smooth off turn number 4 coming to the line. We'll have to see what it is here for the 15.
As he comes across the line, bouncing up to 4th place and pushing down that of Chris Chavez-Essery from 5th place down to 6th. A few other drivers expected to put some times in. Got a few rookies. We've also got some few champions, and as well, a driver that missed out on last week had a substitute driver of Christopher Norris come in for Andrew Medlin in the 12. Andrew's back. He's going to be here for 1 week, missing the next week. Then he should be here for the rest of the season, which will take away the 2 drop weeks that Andrew Medlin will have in his back pocket. But that first lap in the books for the 12 machine, and he's already 5th on the board.
Yeah, 5th fastest on his first lap. We'll have to see if he can continue that momentum and see if he can get up there and challenge Chris Stitz, who's currently on pole with 33.35. Zach Hall's in 2nd, but Medlin coming through turn 3 right down there. Not quite to that white line, kind of running the seam there in 3 and 4 and coming off of 4 to see what he can do coming to the line here, Sam.
That seam can be really a lot of drivers aim for that position, but across the line, the 12 machine hoping to bounce up even further in time, and it looks like it won't. It's a faster lap, but it's not enough to gain in positions. Andrew Medlin will be 5th on the board, and with 56 seconds left in qualifying, looks to be most of the drivers already have finished their times, already crossed. Is going to be that Cole Sacchetti with his last lap, going to be bouncing up to 11th place. And that should be qualifying done and dusted, which gives us actual time to give some thanks to some of our sponsors here at that of Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You saw them pop up with our first splash screen, and that is the Juvenile Diabetes Game to Give. That is a program that is we're kind of partly partnering up. We are trying to have a donation happening right now that is aiming towards our charity event in February for our Daytona 500 that will be ran February 11th. That is going to be our Juvenile Diabetes 2nd annual charity race. We had it last January when we got to run the 6 hours of Daytona. And then this upcoming February, we're having our own Daytona 500 that we're excited to share. Link is already in the chat. If you'd like to race, all you got to do is donate $5 or more, but at least $5 minimum to have your spot and a seat to race. Otherwise, donate, share. We're already past our original goal of $500. We're now aiming for $1,000. And help us as we are going and making our charge to our charity race. But for the drivers right now, qualifying is done. It's time for us up in the booth and for the drivers out on track to get ready for some hard racing here at Homestead. And taking the pole position, going to be that of Chris Stitz in the 17. Zach Hall going to be in 2nd. Logan Keys, the rookie, going to be in 3rd. 4th, going to be that of Kyle Carpenter. Andrew Medlin takes 5th. Ken Campbell going to be 6th. 7th goes to Nick Holland. Chris Chavez-Essery going to be taking that of 8th. 9th goes to that of Blair Patterson, as well as going to be seeing that of Philip Chavez in the 101, taking that 10th place position.
Cole Sacchetti is going to roll off 11th. Ross Tatum in 12th. Sam Siegel will be 13th. Will Bustler 14th. Cameron Sarton 15th. Brian Wilson in 16th. Austin Call, another rookie, in 17th. Christopher Wade 18th. And Ryan Lynch and Ryan Stenhoff will round out your top 20.
Then in 21st position, it's going to be the 26 of Travis Dart with that of Lyle Christensen in 22nd. Jonathan Woods, winner from last week at Daytona, going to be starting out all the way back in 23rd position. 24th goes to that of Nick Gould. Then it's going to be Charles Hugel, not the qualifying time that the 30 wanted. He'll be back in 25th position. Jonathan K-Spear going to be in 26th with John Dart finishing out the 27 trucks expected to run here this evening. As the drivers are about to leave from pit road, and we can give you a little bit of a rundown what we're expecting here tonight. It's going to be a total of 133 laps, but we do have a stage break the drivers will run to at the end of lap 40, as well as drivers are going to have 0 fast repairs and only 4 sets of tires in pit road to work with. Fuel run looking to be around that of 48 to 53 laps. A little bit of a buffer there for them to work with. But Trevor, Homestead, we're now in the baking sun. Drivers are rolling off. What are you expecting in these first couple of laps with everyone jam-packed with one another?
I think you're going to see a lot of drivers tiptoeing around the first couple of corners, especially the first lap with the cold tires and how loose these trucks can be, especially with how hot the track is. So I think we're going to see some drivers tiptoe around. Might see a couple of impressive saves. It could very well see a field stack up with a wreck. Anything's possible here at Homestead, especially with how the practice session looks, Sam.
As the drivers getting ready, practice session, the track temp was around 110 degrees. Qualifying was around 106. Well, starting out here tonight, the track temp 103 degrees. Will it climb or will it lower? Time will tell, but we do know one thing, and that is the ButtKicker 200 here at Homestead is green for the Full Send Racing Series. Season 4, race number 2 is on as they head down into turn number 1.
It was a great start by the 32 of Zach Hall. He's already almost door-to-door with the 17 of Chris Stitz into turn number 1, but Stitz on that bottom line is going to be able to hold that position off on Zach. Zach's going to fall back into second, and then Logan Keys will be up to third in the 43 truck. Great start for him.
A lot of drivers to try to single file as soon as possible. It's side by side, though, for 4th place. For that of Kyle Carpenter, Andrew Medlin, they're starting to poke the nose. And Ken Campbell talked about multi-groove racing. The 15 flirting with that third to middle lane, but has to drop back down low. Seeing a little bit side by side, but not much of that third lane wouldn't be utilized, which, Trevor, that was something we were touching on with one another before we went live. We weren't sure how much multi-groove racing we were going to see. We're already seeing everyone ducking it down to that white line.
Everybody trying to get to that preferred line on the bottom. Ken Campbell, though, not afraid to use that outside line as he's still at the outside of the 68 of Nick Holland in that 15 machine. Looking to try to use that to his advantage. It's a really good entry in, and right behind him is going to be the 13 of Chris Chavez Essery, trying to follow suit behind the 15 of Ken Campbell as both of them look to make that outside line work for him off of turn number 4.
I think the driver, though, in my mind, that could be a dark horse that qualified there late in the middle of the qualifying group. It's that blue and yellow machine, the 42, Cole Sacchetti. I'm curious on how well he's going to be running here tonight. He's going to be mired back, watching the drivers ahead of him. How aggressive does this 42 want to be? Because we know on the long run, that's where we could see the strength from that of Cole Sacchetti.
Sacchetti usually one of those guys, along with the 21 of Ross Tatum, that are really good on these long runs. So interesting to see Cole go up here to that outside line. Typically the outside line will be really quick for the first 10 or so laps of a run, but really burns up the rear tire, the right side tires of the vehicles, gets the heat into them, makes the truck really loose. It's something to watch out for as these drivers continue to run that outside line. But the battle now for second between Logan Keys, Zach Hall. Keys to the inside line with a really good exit here off of turn number 2. Going to keep it side by side with Zach Hall down the backstretch, along with the 77 of Kyle Carpenter and the 15 of Ken Campbell side by side as well.
And that entry into turn 1 and 2 and coming out of the exit gave a little bit of deja vu of how we were seeing last week at Daytona. Side by side racing, and now the battling for the drivers for second place is starting to heat up. But Zach Hall here gets on the outside lane, and here comes the 40, that of the 32 and the 43. They're trying to make the charge as that of Chris Stitz had to hold the lead for as long as he could, but Zach Hall taking the claim. He was one of the fastest during practice. He got himself second during qualifying and now leading this race as they're trying to head down in turn number 3, but Chris Stitz does not want to allow Hall to get a lap led.
Yes, Zach got a really good run off turn number 4 on that outside line. Stitz with the crossover move out of turn number 2 gets back to the quarter panel, but not able to get to the door to use the side draft down the front stretch. Zach Hall clears Stitz, gets that lap led. Zach Hall up to first. Ken Campbell still working that outside line down here in 1 and 2, making it work for him, followed by Chavez Essery in the 13. Chavez drops down the battle for third, keeping up between Logan Keys and Ken Campbell.
Ken Campbell with also that Essery, some of the biggest movers so far of drivers that started inside of the top 10 as they are up 2 and 3 positions for themselves. Riding on board right now with that of Ken Campbell to his inside. He's not able to get down to that white line. The reason why, he's got Logan Keys right there shadowing that inner groove as Keys continues to try to just settle in to hop on board the 13. You can see that side-by-side action, just a glimpse here. The fact that drivers trying to hold steady, and I gotta say here, Trevor, I'm pretty impressed on the way that these drivers are running still side by side. The fact that Ken Campbell has not just given up this position, I think he might be recognizing track position could be a key later on in this run.
Yeah, I think Ken's trying to wanting to get up here as quickly as he can, get to that bottom line, save the tires, but right in front of him, battle for the lead, just heated right back up. Chris Stitz just drove past Zach Hall on the bottom side of the racetrack, down there in 3 and 4, so the 17 and Stitz back up to the lead. Campbell was finally able to clear Logan Keys. That's going to be, leaving us almost side by side for 5th place between Essery and Andrew Medlin, and then the 77 of Kyle Carpenter, the second fastest truck in practice, is finding himself on the outside line, looking to the outside of the 12 of Medlin down the backstretch.
You're starting to see a little bit of a breakup. That is 9th back to 10th, where that bubble spot of clean air is. It's really our top 9 right on top of one another, and they've got to be careful because one slip up could wipe out a lot of these drivers, and we saw it during practice. And when we went live, drivers on the exit of these corners going to be a troublesome spot as the run continues to drive on. Trevor, we were given notification on the fact that the looseness sensation is something to worry about the longer this run happens.
Yeah, the more tire wear you get into these trucks, the more it's going to get loose right there. Big moment out of turn number 2 for Medlin, Essery, and Sacchetti. Everybody does a really good job avoiding one another, but a slight slide from the 12 and the 13 kind of checks up that battle for 6th on back, but allows Carpenter, Holland, and then I believe that's the 91 of Blair Patterson to close in on this battle, but almost a big moment there for those two drivers.
A massive moment to be scared about, and this is, still aggressive side drafting is what we're starting to see really equate to these issues. On top of, if a driver gets loose on the inside or the outside, big trouble can happen if you're not giving plenty of room to one another. As right now, Chris Stitz trying to pull away, and he's doing just that over Zach Hall, and it might be one of those things where we're trying to settle down, see if we can save these tires just a little bit more, as continuously seeing that 12 machine of Andrew Medlin working the outside as his teammate Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, they've already cleared away. It's for that of Freaky Fast Racing that's going to be in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at this current moment.
I think Medlin feels like he's getting held up there by Logan Keys in the 43 a little bit. Went to that outside line to try to clear the 43. Logan doing a really good job here. One of the rookies in the league, holding on strong here in the top 5, fighting for every position he can. But Medlin with a great run, not only gets past the 43, but gets side by side with his teammate there, Ken Campbell, down into 3 and 4, and he's going to continue that momentum and might be side by side with Zach Hall here. Sam coming down the front stretch.
Trouble, though, striking on the back stretch. Drivers that were battling for last place. It's going to be that of Lyle Christensen, blown up on the apron, going through the off-axis road, and as well, Jonathan Casebeer that you saw there in the 8. Heavy damage for both drivers. The worst of it goes to the 53. He's going to be forced into pit road with an engine blown, and that could be a race done already for Christensen.
That's unfortunate to see their heavy damage, and like we touched on at the beginning of the broadcast, no fast repairs for these drivers tonight, so it's going to be required damage that Christensen has to sit on pit road and get fixed before he can get back out there and race. And then the aero damage and possible engine damage for Casebeer as well that can really hamper the 8 machine's chances later on in this race.
Went back, saw it for myself. It looked to be the 8 of Casebeer, loose out of 2. When he got back to holding on to that machine, he actually got rear-ended clipped by the 55 of Sam Siegel, which sent the 8 down into the 53, ruining both of their nights. As long as for the 8, though, he might be underpowered, but at least he's able to continue running without required damage. But as we move up throughout the field, get to see some of the teammates for that of Casebeer running right now, trying to gain as many spots as possible, are those in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and right now just trying to find a line, file in. Looks like the back half of the field kind of just single file back here, but right here looking at Austin Call in the 1 machine. I'm sorry, Austin Call in the 18. Right behind him, Cameron Sarton in the 24. Sam really hasn't made much progress running in the 16th, right behind Austin, who's up to 15.
Yeah, and for that Cameron Sarton, this is kind of similar to what we saw last season, where the 24 was very slow in the first couple of races. It wasn't until we got to our first short track where really it seemed like the 24 turned it on for the rest of the season. Curious if that's going to be a similar strategy as we go to Bristol next week. Could be the turn-on factor for the 24, but at the same time, we still have a lot of racing to go. We're not even halfway for our stage, which will be at that of the end of lap 40 will be our official stage break. So drivers be taking it smooth, taking it easy, trying to save their tires before they make some big, bold moves later in this run.
Yeah, speaking of saving tires, we touched on him a little bit earlier, but up to 2nd, up 9 spots from where he started. Cole Sacchetti in the 42 made short work of everybody in front of him once they got to racing as hard as they were. Cole Sacchetti drove right by him, and another driver that I think is going to get up there not too long from now is going to be that 21, last season's champion, the 21 of Ross Tatum. You see him back here battling with Christopher Wade, Nick Holland, Kyle Carpenter, and Chris Essery in the 13 to the 21 truck. Sam starting to slowly work his way up through the field like he tends to do on these long runs.
And he's moving his way forward, but he's around 2 drivers just that don't look stable at all. That's going to be the 68 of Nick Holland and the 77 Kyle Carpenter. Both have been extremely loose out of the corner. You've been watching this battling. Ross Tatum, he might be getting a little bit too giddy for himself as the 21's trying to figure out where to place himself to get by these two that are kind of being a wall right now. As well, you're seeing that Patterson, Wade, they're just waiting as well on which lane will finally make the cruise to go forward. And it looks like it might be the outside on the exit of 2, but they just continue to stall out. The side drafting from Carpenter's too strong.
Holland finally, though, gets that position cleared from Carpenter, but Ross Tatum had a chance to go to the outside, but thinks better of it, checks it up, falls in line behind the 77. It's a little loose, though, out of turn number 4, along with Christopher Wade right behind him, and then Patterson as well. Three of those drivers a little loose, starting to show that tire wear is starting to set in.
As we are now 18 laps into this race, our down the stage bridge at the end of lap 40. Top 10 drivers will get bonus points for themselves. And we were notified 15 laps in. That's when we were going to start to see a pretty big drop off for these drivers on their tire wear compared to their fastest lap to what they'd be running was around a second. But Trevor, that's a pretty quick drop off for drivers that can push their fuel to 45 to 50 laps just by themselves. 15 laps in, already seen that major of a drop off, just showing this track can be very abrasive on these tires.
Yeah, it can be very, very hard on these tires, especially with that kind of drop off. But you know, from that point, you kind of hit a wall with these tires up until the end of the fuel run. We were, told about 2 seconds by the end of your runs, we're going to see a drop off in time from your fastest lap to the end of a run. So that window between that first 15 laps and the end of the run really is going to dictate for these drivers how much, they can move forward depending on how much they save their tires between those two stages of tire wear.
We're seeing drivers trying different lanes right now. You see the one, Will Bustler. We've seen him run well in other leagues that we cover here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. And this one machine just kind of in a stable spot. Has only gained one position behind him, Austin Call, who had a very strong practice and was hoping for a very strong qualifying run. Didn't qualify as well, only up to 14th for qualifying, only up one position. But he's got the two-time champ behind him, that of Cameron Sarton, which I was looking through the stats here, Trevor. Interesting thing, this is actually the very first time that of the Full Send Racing Series is racing here at Homestead. The other 2 times that they've ran here at this track, both were in the Xfinity car. So drivers getting a little bit of a different taste, but a lot of these drivers have ran trucks before at this course, as some drivers testing their skills on different lanes, as the 3 machine of Ryan Lynch was that driver all the way up against the wall, and he's trying all the different possibilities to gain some speed.
Trying to get a really good run off turn number 2, using that wall to his advantage, gets a really good run to the inside there of, I believe that's Travis Dart in the 26 machine, gets that cleared, but Dart going to go with the crossover. Got to be careful though, he's got the 2 to his inside, almost contact with Jonathan Woods there, but able to keep that clean as Travis goes for the crossover there on 3 of Ryan Lynch, but Lynch back up to that wall really high compared to what we've seen other drivers running on that outside line. Lynch just trying to get everything he can late in this run.
And as we are past halfway in this run, might be that final call. The 3 is hearing in the back of his brain of, I got to take off now. If I want to get any type of bonus points, I've got to make passes immediately. Only the drivers in the top 10 get bonus points at our stage break. All other drivers get nothing, except for maybe just waiting to see when they can come into pit road. So the pressure is mounting a little bit more on drivers noticing they need to make some passes, and that's what we're seeing right in front of the windshield of riding on board with this 3 machine is a pack of drivers all outside of the top 10 trying to scrap to see who could be in that 11th place position.
Yeah, they were 3 wide about a half a lap ago with Christopher Wade, the one of Will Bustler, and then 91 of Blair Patterson. They were 3 wide off of turn number 2 with Wade running that outside wall. Kind of what we saw Ryan Lynch doing all the way to the top, but right now that battle's going to be for 12th between Patterson and Bustler as they try to sort it out. Patterson with a really good drive to the inside. Austin all there side by side with Cameron Sarton right behind them as they try to sort it out, but they might get pinched in here behind the 1 machine. Oh, contact maybe between the 24 and the 18 there down the backstretch.
And there is some damage with the 24 on the side. A little bit of a scrub mark right on the number of the 24. Not too bad of damage. I don't think it was too big that to worry about, but Austin Cole gets another wiggly spot in front of Philip Chavez, the 18. Those rear tires are toasted. He is struggling right now, and he still has about that 15 laps to go in this stint.
Yeah, side by side now as you give up a little bit of time. Another wiggle, more contact made. Oh, they're going to wreck into the wall.
Oh, goodness gracious. Into the atmosphere. That of the 18 goes. Philip Chavez, hard damage. And just like that, our first caution of the day comes out. And drivers are not happy with that one.
Yeah, I think Chavez just pinched the 18 down a little bit too much there in turn number 2. And for Austin Call, just got loose and just had nowhere to really correct that truck as the 101 was just right there on his quarter panel.
I mean, we saw the fact that these drivers were dealing with a little bit of damage on the fact of the 18 was loose the lap before, almost a very similar spot where he got loose. And for Philip Chavez, obviously didn't recognize that there was a possibility that he could get loose again. And as we get the instant replay up, I mean, Trevor, that's just one of those incidences where drivers try moves when they're on moves that they should do when they're on new tires, not on old tires.
Yeah, I feel like you got to give a little bit more space there in that situation, especially seeing, the truck in front of you slide the previous lap. Just give a little bit more space. But again, one of those things you got to make up, positions as you can. Track position is so important here as we get a replay up. You'll see them side by side, and Chavez just comes down, I think, and pinches Austin a little bit. Austin gets a little loose though, Sam, and that's kind of what triggers this whole event.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying your best for that of the 101 on the outside, trying to pinch and get some side drafting here. But right when he gets to the quarter panel, that's when the 18 gets a little loose, comes up, and it's just he's gone at this point. There's not much that you can do once you get hooked in that quarter panel. And then this is when the 18 goes for a mysterious ride up into the sky, and it will come crashing back down. And a frustrating moment because that is when the engine blows up with its hard contact to that of the concrete and then rolls onto all four, takes a tow to pit road, and required damage is given to that of the 18 as well as the 101. And Lyle Christensen, who already had major damage, he is still in pit road getting damage repairs, as that is caution number 1 of the night. Not a lot of movement up front, except for the fact that some drivers deciding to stay out on track while others taking tires. Our top 5 all deciding to stay out on track. That's Ross Tatum, Christopher Wade, Will Bustler, Cameron Sarton, and John Dart all deciding to stay out on track, while that of Chris Stitz and everyone else deciding to come into pit road, which interesting call for those that decided to stay out. But Trevor, I got to say, with the way those tires were looking, I would be screaming 4 tires.
Yeah, I'd be thinking tires all the way around, but maybe a strategy play. We saw it a lot last season with these guys in the Xfinity cars, especially with cautions right before the stage of pit strategy. And I think these guys are maybe thinking up here that there might be a caution late in the race, have that extra set of tires in the bag just in case. But if there isn't, this race goes green, this could really come back to haunt these guys, especially after the stage break where they're going to lose a lot of track position.
And Sam Siegel seems to be the one driver that decided to take 2 tires for the 55. Rest of the field taking 4 that came into pit road. Coming in for some extra damage repair, going to be that of the 26 of Travis Dart, as well as that of Jonathan Casebeer and Philip Chavez and Austin Call, all coming in to get themselves repairs, as well as Lyle Christensen, who's been in pit road for over that 11 minutes. Well, while we're under that of a yellow, gives us time to give another shout out to one of our great sponsors. See him blinking in our top left. That is iRacing iFlag. iRacing iFlag has great products for you as the driver to have the knowledge and information to succeed on track, such as their patented iFlag virtual flag system, as well as digital pit board, both giving you the information on what the track state is on track or what that of the weather temperature, and so much more. While purchasing at iRacing iFlag, go use our promo code FreakyFast2022 today. Drivers are stacking up. And Trevor, this, I got to say, with the fact that we've got 5 drivers out there on old tires, and with how drastic it is being on just 15-lap old tires compared to that of 27-lap difference on tires, this does not look good for the way that this restart's going to go on how dramatically different these speeds are about to be.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting restart. This could cause a lot of chaos and a few, heart-skipping moments for the drivers behind that are on these fresh tires. But it's about being careful, especially with there being about a second and a half difference in lap times that we're going to see between the guys on 4 fresh tires and the guy at the top 5 that haven't pit.
Well, the drivers up front, going to be that of Ross Tatum, Christopher Wade, hoping for a solid restart for themselves. The goal, gain up as big of a lead as possible. Then you've got Will Bustler in third, Cameron Sarton, who's got a little bit of side damage for the 24, and John Dart. All 5 drivers, old tires against new. The rest of the field have new freshies, and they're ready to see how this restart goes. A little bit of wheel spin for the front runners, and Ross Tatum already has to back off. Doesn't look like a strong run for the 21 at all.
Yeah, Ross really got a lot of wheel spin on the restart there, but the 17 of Stitz, those 4 fresh tires all the way to the outside line already past the 24, past the 1. Going to have a great run here on Ross Tatum. Going to cross Ross over, go to the inside here with Christopher Wade down the backstretch, and just like that, the man who has dominated the first half of the race back up to the lead.
Back up to the lead, but now it's time to see that multi-groove racing as everyone going to be stuck, mired in 5th place, trying to figure out how to get by everyone on old tires. They're going 3 wide, almost 4 wide. Ross Tatum ducks it down low onto the apron to get out of the way as drivers are still scattering to try to move themselves forward. I mean, I got to say for Ross Tatum, if he's just trying to save tires, that was a very smart move on just getting out of the way, recognizing he wasn't getting stage points at all as everyone's using all the way up to the wall, to the apron, everywhere to try to gain some positions.
Just showing you how wide Homestead really is as a racetrack. Oh, almost contact between Bustler and the 42 of Sacchetti. Sacchetti dove it in 3 wide with Carpenter to his outside. He's got Zach Hall trying to follow in right behind him as they try to get around Christopher Wade, who hasn't made his pit stop yet, but almost trouble there in turn number 3. But I think that's why the 21 of Ross Tatum decided to back out on the front stretch, deciding that, hey, this isn't worth risking damaging the truck. I'm just going to go to the back and survive till the stage break.
Surviving is going to be the key. 9 laps to go before stage break comes out. That's at the end of lap 40. We'll see if the caution comes out. Last week, kind of a shocker. It came out directly on the lap. Race control, hoping that they've gotten that cleared up. But you just see that major speed difference riding on board with Will Bustler and seeing Ken Campbell just rocket his way through the center off the corner. That's where these tires are really showing their strength.
Yeah, you see the difference in grip. It looks like, Sam, to me, the 15 of Campbell, a little bit of rear end damage on that 15 machine.
Yeah, and I think I know who gave it to him. That could be the 68 of Nick Holland. He's got some major front end damage he's dealing with, and I think that could have been from the wheel spin action that we saw in that last restart. Drivers just running into one another. Rear end damage I'd rather have than having that front end damage the 68 does.
Yeah, the rear end damage for the King Campbell not going to really affect him as much, but the front end damage, the aero damage on the 68 and Nick Holland really going to hurt the performance of that truck as they're battling back here as Bustler and Wade still continue to fall back through the field here side by side with the 74 of Ryan Stenhoff trying to work his way back up through there, as well as the 26 of Travis Starr to sort through these older tires. I gotta say, Sam, everybody did a really good job. They had a couple of moments, but everybody did a really good job getting through those 5 trucks on old tires.
Yeah, and you got to give huge kudos to the fact that the track just allows you to run multi-groove racing, and you're able to run anywhere you really want, as the drivers back half are just getting wild on the amount of how fast they're trying to make some passes for some, as you see that Stenoff's making his way forward, but it's going backwards together in tandem. Will Bustler and Christopher Wade. Sometimes you want to get in line to work with one another. If you're going to be going backwards side by side, just makes it a little bit more tricky as we bounce our way back up front. The battling for 10th place, and this of 9th, 10th, and soon to be 11th is on screen. Nick Holland, Ryan Lynch, and our last week's winner of Jonathan Woods. Woods hoping to get some bonus points here.
Yeah, Woods with a quiet first half of the race. Didn't really see much of him. Was back there kind of in the 15th to 20th range, but up here battling, trying to get those stage points, trying to show that, hey, I got pushed, had a really good team strategy call last week at Daytona, but hey, I've got speed, I'm going to be here the rest of the season. He looks to the inside here of Ryan Lynch and the 3 Lynch, using that way high line again to his advantage. A really good run off the corner. See if Lynch can get a run here on Nick Holland, but not going to the outside in 3 and 4 like he was in 1 and 2. Decided to tuck it down to the bottom because he tries to close in on that 68 of Nick Holland.
And looks to be some slight issues for the drivers up front. That's the 13th. Saw a big puff of smoke. That was Chris Chavez Essery getting into the outside wall, bouncing. Looked like just a little bit of the rear end, getting a cusp of that and losing some momentum, allowing now Logan Keys to be setting up for 2nd place. And for Logan Keys, This could be massive for himself. Finished it all the way back in 16th place last week at that of Daytona. Didn't get too many bonus points, so this is a major push if he can get these second place bonus points. Try to set up for the rest of the season, as everyone's goal is to make the playoffs.
I think he's running up in the top 5 there for a majority of that first little bit of the race before that caution, and then kind of fell back as the tire wear kicked in, but showing that he's a really good short run speed here as he continues to battle the outside of the 13 machine of Essery, and Essery just struggling a little bit for grip down there on the bottom. We saw him get a little loose out of turn 4, got a little loose down there in turn number 1. But the 43 keys not quite able to get that pass cleared quite yet, but see if he can get the run here off of turn number 4 and finally get that pass done.
I mean, he doesn't need to fully make the pass. He just has to have a nose at the line once the yellow flag comes out for our stage break. And right now we are in the 2 to go marker for our stage break. If a caution comes out, these drivers, that will count as our stage. But for the majority of the drivers, they are aiming for the end of lap 40 as our leader, Chris Stitz, dominating. He got through that pack of madness so quickly, ripping the top and able to get by everyone, almost over a 2-second lead gap to second place as Keys as well as Essery continue to battle along. It's going to be the stage break white flag for these drivers as Chris Stitz crosses the line. Right now, Cool Comic Collective is this 17.
Yeah, really no pressure for that of Stitz as he can just cruise through 1, 2, and 3, and 4 and collect the stage win. The battle for second finally gets settled as Keys finally clears the 13 of Essery out of turn number 2. And then you got Cole Sacchetti right there in 4th, Zach Hall 5th, Kyle Carpenter running in 6th. But really, everybody now just kind of single filed out, waiting to get to the stage break to come back down and get 4 fresh tires.
Watching all the different battles, and it looks like everyone will stay where they're at. Cross the line, stage winner going to be Chris Stitz in the 17 machine. Logan Keys should be getting second here as the yellow flag comes out. And the battle for third was interesting there, coming to that of the line. I believe Essery will be taking that third place position, but Cole Sacchetti, a huge surge late, almost making that pass as drivers get to cool down, catch up to one another. It will be that of Chris Stitz, Logan Keys, with Chris Essery, Cole Sacchetti, Zach Hall going to be taking 5th, with that of Kyle Carpenter taking 6th. 7th goes to Andrew Medlin. Ken Campbell takes 8th. 9th is Nick Holland. And Jonathan Woods will take that 10th and final bonus point here at our stage break. I mean, Trevor, only one true on-track incident to bring out a yellow before the second caution came out to be our stage break, but I got to say, those first couple of laps with these fresh tires are certainly something interesting to watch out for.
Yeah, they're probably the most exciting parts of a race. You get those restarts, everybody bunched up, 4 fresh tires, everybody feeling good about it, being aggressive, and everybody, I gotta say, did a really good job getting through everything, considering that there were 5 trucks with older tires. So I think we're gonna see that again on this restart. Everybody's gonna be on 4 fresh tires. Everybody knowing that, hey, track position is gonna be important. I think we're gonna see some more wildness on the restart.
Curious though, who would think about not taking tires here? I mean, is that a possibility as everyone pulls down into pit road? Who might try a gutsy call? Could someone try 2 tires to get some track position in the early going if they feel like they're too far back? That's another key thing that I'm going to be watching out for as Chris Stitz tries to get into his box. Let the audience know we're going to try to talk to our stage winner after they are done with pit stops to get his mindset of winning the stage as Stitz really looked dominating, but into pit road, everyone looks good into their box except for Kyle Carpenter. A very awkward point into his box. He had to back up for the 77 and not good for himself, and fuel only for Logan Keys.
There's your strategy call, Sam. Fuel only for the 43. He's going to be the first one off pit road. Stitz is going to be there as well. And Sam, I don't know about that call. Based off what we saw there, on that restart where the 5 cars stayed out, I think Logan Keys is going to be a sitting duck, but hey, might have a really interesting strategy call for later in the race that can see this 43 be a factor.
I mean, another sitting duck could be to watch out for the 9 machine. Brian Wilson deciding to stay out. This could be a strategy call for himself just to be in a position to get a bonus point for a lap led. But if he decides to stay out there and not come into pit road, that's going to put completely off strategy to everyone else.
Yeah, I think Brian Wilson will come down pit road, but I could be wrong here. Not sure. It looks like Brian's going to stay out.
Ooh.
So the 9 stays out. Hasn't been down pit road since that first caution on lap 26. Very interesting strategy call from the 9, and a equally interesting strategy call from the 43.
Absolutely. Well, we won't be talking to them. We've got our stage break winner in the waiting room. We're going to bring him up as we've got Chris Stitz with us. Chris, it's Sam and Trevor up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got y'all.
Well, you dominated that on that last restart, getting the stage win. But man, how is it feeling out there with the trucks out there at Homestead?
It's feeling pretty great, actually, especially on that last run where I could just kind of run it out with those fresh tires. Track was smooth. Track was feeling great. I didn't get loose too much, but on the long run, it's definitely getting a little looser.
You know, Chris, walk us through that last restart. 5 trucks stay out on old tires. I mean, we saw you just go instantly up to the wall in 1 and 2 and work your way around there. I mean, what kind of same strategy here on this restart with the two cars in front of you on older tires?
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get up around the top and around them, but if anyone gets in front, it's going to be a little tougher to regain that lead, but hopefully I'll be able to get back up front and just keep on sailing.
Well, Chris, got to give you huge congratulations on winning this stage. Hopefully we'll be talking to you later. We'll send you back to your team, but any shout outs before we let you go?
Just thank my sponsors, Frostfire and Lake Anna. Hopefully having a great season ahead of us.
That's going to be the 17, your stage winner. That is going to be Chris Stitz as he heads back to his team as we're stacking up. Trevor, seeing the drivers try something off strategy, I was expecting to see that from, I think, some other drivers in the middle of the pack, but seeing Brian Wilson go with the no stop, I mean, it's not the worst call in the world, and actually, it might even work out based on the way the fuel strategy is looking. This is a gutsy call, but not the worst call in the world for someone that has to go off strategy based on the fact that they were running in the middle of the field and really didn't have any true speed to be challenging our front runners.
Yeah, it could work out for him. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Logan Keys as well. I mean, kind of the same situation on tires as the 9, but with more fuel than Brian Wilson. So we'll have to wait and see kind of how their 2 pit strategies are going to work out. But this restart, Sam's going to be really interesting. Stitz on the inside. He's got Essery to his outside. So Essery has the chance here to jump Stitz on this restart. If he can get a good restart and get clear of the 2 trucks in front of him, this could really shake up the front running order.
It really could, as we are getting back to racing action here for the Full Send Racing Series. If you're just joining us, the stages are done. We are now racing it to the end. Lap 133, front 2 drivers on old tires. The rest of the field just took 4 tires and fuel, and we are back to racing action. Some dropping down to the apron, but it's going to be watching out for Brian Wilson, Logan Keys, as here comes the rest of the field storming on by.
Oh, and big wiggle from Medlin. Medlin gets into the wall. A wiggle from Essery and from that of Zach Hall. They all got loose down into 1 and 2. And big damage for the 12 of Medlin. Contact between Stitz and Essery.
Stitz, Essery, both going to be shuffling down the inside and through the grass, trying to hold their break. And while you're in the grass, you're practically on ice. And the 17 trying his best to get back on course. And in a blink of an eye, you win the stage, and now you're back to almost last place. As Essery not comfortable at all, and the 2 drivers we were just talking about having some pretty bad restarts. Now it's Zach Hall up to 2nd.
The pole sitter back up to 2nd as he gets around Wilson, trying to find a way around Logan Keys in the 43. But I got to say, these 2 up front, Wilson and Keys, haven't really dropped through the field as quickly as I thought they might. And actually, Wilson's going to attack that of Zach Hall on the outside in the 9 machine.
Well, I got to remember, when we were seeing those aggressive moves, oh boy, they are almost on top of one another back there for 3rd. But for Zach Hall and for others, they're only dealing with about that of 21 laps of older tires. But to calculate that over to some of the other drivers and how they're running, it's only about 14 laps. So that's about a half a second difference if you are pushing your tires as much as you can. As we see Zach Hall's camera, and you can see a little bit of a glimpse running the 3 monitor system as the 32 putting the nose ahead and trying to get the lead and to lead this lap for himself.
It gets by the 43 Logan Keys. He's got the 42 of Sacchetti now trying to battle through to the inside, but Sacchetti's going to fall into 3rd. And then Campbell right there to the inside of the 9 of Brian Wilson to Zach Hall. Finally gets through the traffic, gets up to the lead. But now it's going to leave the 42 Sacchetti, 15 to Campbell. They have to get through these 2 trucks on older tires. And Sam, again, not going away, the 9 of Wilson and the 43 Keys. They're doing a great job up here battling for these positions.
Yeah, I mean, they're not giving up, but something that has gone away, that is the sun. This track has gotten a lot darker with cloud coverage taking over, and the track has really cooled off since the start of the race. It was 103 degrees at the start of the race. It's now down to just that of 95 degrees for the track temp. And with these cooler temperatures, well, this is what we're going to see. A lot more drivers trying out that second, maybe even third line to find some extra speed for themselves. But as we're looking at this weather right now, ambient temperature not changing very much. Track temp is where the big change has been happening.
Yeah, the drivers are going to feel that track temperature difference. It's going to give the trucks a lot more grip in the corner. They're going to feel like they're going to be able to push it a little bit more. And like you said, we're going to start seeing that second line really starts coming to play, I feel, more than what we did in the first bit of the race. So look to see that second group, even the third line, really come into play as Wilson dove in there, almost got in the back of Keys, and that kind of checks up everybody behind him. But right behind the 9 machine is going to be last week's hero, Jonathan Woods in the 2, and then he's got Will Bustler right behind him as those two try to get through this traffic and get back or catch up to our leaders.
Yeah, they're really trying to catch up the best that they can, and here is our rookie watch. The rookies in the class and where they're running right now. Leading the rookies is Kyle Keys. You also got Brian Wilson. They are right on top of one another, as well as Jonathan Woods. We got a really good rookie class right now, 4th, 5th, and 6th. The rest of the field kind of scattered all the way through, but it's these drivers on the older tires. I still am baffled on how well they're performing on these older tires up front.
Based off of what we saw on that first run after the first caution, I figured these guys were going to be back at the tail end of the field already, but not only are they still up here in the top, 4th and 5th, but they're still battling with one another hard and doing a good job of that and holding off everybody behind them.
I mean, I would give credit to that of Brian Wilson. You'd think because he was deeper in the field, maybe he was able to save his tires, but Logan Keys was battling for second place that whole entire last stint. This is incredible driving by that of the 43, as you're seeing drivers up here trying to defend the best that they can. The 9 just watching in his mirrors, that of Will Bustler, that of Logan Keys, right on top of one another, and everyone trying to still move up through the field as we are on lap 53, coming up to 54 of 133.
And this battle continues back here for the 7th, 8th, 9th position as the 2 of Woods gets into the wall a little bit on the front stretch. That's going to check up the 68 of Nick Holland. Holland does a really good job of avoiding getting into the back of Jonathan Woods there as they head down into 1. But again, just getting a little bit too close to that wall, trying to get everything you can off the corner to make up these positions. But Holland, even with that nose damage, doing a really good job here down the backstretch, trying to keep it side by side with Woods. And then Will Bustler up ahead of them goes to the inside of Logan Keys down into turn number 3.
I mean, this little pot of drivers that we're looking at, you got the damaged 68 machine trying to hold off some of our biggest movers of the night. I mean, Ryan Lynch, as well Jonathan Woods, and the 26 of Travis Dart. All drivers that are up 10-plus positions for themselves from where they qualified. And being inside of our top 10, this is incredible to be seen by some of these drivers. I mean, especially for that of Ryan Lynch, as well as Travis Dart, 2 drivers that have struggled to finish inside of the top 15 at times, now inside of the top 10 on lap 55.
Yeah, having really good runs for himself early on here, and especially Ryan Lynch using that really unorthodox line. I say unorthodox line. Some people like running the wall, some don't, but haven't seen a lot of people this race really utilize that basically wall riding in 1 and 2, but Lynch doing a really good job of it for himself. It looks like the 26 of Dart actually going to follow him up there here in 1 and 2 and try to use that as they get around the 43 of Logan Keys. As they're going to be almost 3 wide here off of 2 of Keys. It's a little sideways.
It's a little sideways, but holds on. And the driver, I'm curious on how well he's going to be able to hold out. Is that a Logan Keys? He has really been aggressive on the side drafting to that of Nick Holland, who Holland, again, dealing with some front-end damage after getting into the rear end of the 15. Ken Campbell still dealing with some of the wiggling, and I think for Keys, he has kind of hit his limit. Those tires are toasted again. He was so aggressive on the last time he went into pit road, which was under our first caution of the day, as drivers squeezing on one another. This is all battling for 7th, 8th, 9th, 3 wide all around. Cooler temperatures are helping this track as drivers now using every bit of this course. Unlike the first 15 laps of this race where everyone was running that white line, everyone's recognizing we can get a little bit aggressive at this point. And at the same tone, some of the drivers that are getting aggressive were those that didn't take tires under our first caution, that decided to give up track position for an extra set of tires to work on later in this race.
3 wide down here into turn number 1. And Sam, I think Ryan Lynch had a huge moment out of turn number 4. Saw a little bit of smoke out of turn number 4 into 3. Fell back a couple of spots. Might have gotten loose, saved it down the front stretch, but falling back for the 3 of Lynch. And they were 3 wide with Brian Wilson, Patterson, and Wade going into coming out of turn number 2. They get that all sorted out as the 9 now, starting to kind of follow suit with the 43, starting to struggle a little bit on those older tires and fall back through the field. But here comes the 21. Last season's champ, Ross Tatum, finally starting to work his way back through the field after we saw him drop to the back of the pack after not taking tires on that first caution.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Wade as well as Ross Tatum are the drivers that decided to pit in their first time under stage break. So they are now trying to make some hard charge moves to get back into where they were before they tried the oddball strategy. And with everyone kind of back on most of the field, back on similar strategies, but having that extra set of tires to work with, I mean, Trevor, that must be giving a lot of good hope for the 5 drivers that decided not to pit under first yellow. And right now, Ross Tatum holding on, but he is now kind of boxed in where he's at, trying to figure out, how do I get by the wall of the rookies? That of Brian Wilson, also that of Senoff's, both just trying to hold their own groove, and it looks like for the 74, he's able to get by that of the 9 as Wilson, Keys, they are now dropping quickly down our ticker board.
Yeah, it took about, that 12 laps for those two to really start falling through the field and doing, really starting to show just the drop off in those older tires. Wilson again just gets loose as Sarton goes to his inside, and right in front of him, Tatum gets around the 74 Stenhoff. Stenhoff having a really good run.
That is the wall, and you want to get off of it. It's the 9. Just continuously was brushing on the wall. You see the damage there on the right side, all scrubbed off. Did not want to stay on that outside groove for too long, but we do have to bounce up to the lead as Cole Sacchetti, as we were watching all the madness in the middle of the field and watching drivers falling backwards, Zach Hall has been caught, and Cole Sacchetti is there to lead this lap.
And it's going to be side by side down the front stretch. Sacchetti gets that lap led. Zach Hall going to try to use that outside line to see if he can get a run through the corner, but I mean, Sacchetti carries so much speed down through 1 and 2, going to get that pass cleared, and Zach's not going to have a chance to use that outside line, but might get a good run here down the backstretch, but can't quite do anything for Sacchetti, as Sacchetti now is clearly and solidly in the lead.
Right now for Cole Sacchetti, I mean, he's got fresh air. That's where you want to be right now, especially when you're this late into a run. That clean air allows you to have better downforce through the corners. For Zach Hall, he's got to be careful of following in the tire tracks too long of this 42, because that could be hurting his tires unless Zach just pushed his tires too quickly, too soon. I know these trucks are something that Zach's been trying to get a lot more adequate with, as joining that of the Full Send Racing Series last season when they were in the Xfinity car. It was a little bit of a learning curve for the 32, and it looks like for this season, very similar thing. Still trying to get that learning curve. I think that could be hurting when you're trying to learn a vehicle, Trevor. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but the learning curve to get the long run pace is what's more difficult than having that 1 lap speedster that we've been seeing Zach Hall have.
Yeah, it's really easy to figure out how to go fast for a lap or 5 laps or 10 laps. It's training yourself to back off and be consistent over the course of 20, 30, 40 laps. That's the hard part. And the trucks have such a love-hate relationship for a lot of drivers because they're so momentum-based. You can carry a lot of speed in the trucks, and it makes it, I feel like it makes it even more difficult to learn long run pace because you can just continuously carry speed in these things.
Speed is something drivers are going to have to worry about and work on throughout the night. But for us, we're inching closer to halfway, and we are going to step aside for a quick moment. You won't miss a thing here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, as we will give you side-by-side coverage. And for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, you've been watching the Full Send Racing Series. It's the second race of the season for the ButtKicker 200. It's here at Homestead. Amazing racing all over the place. But we will be right back in a few. We'll see you on the other side. And big thanks to Game to Gives from that of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Again, we're partnering up with them in February. We'll talk about more about that later on. As for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we want to give a big thanks to the sponsors at Full Send Racing Series. Starting things off with Next Level Racing. Next Level Racing, if you're looking for a Class Act racing rig, they've got you covered. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. And as well, one of the best podcasts you can grab right now, head on over and listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast. They've got great coverage. Been around for such a long time. Thank you to all the major sponsors here at the Full Send Racing Series. As Season 4, race number 2, still green and underway. We've seen some great side-by-side action happening at this current moment, but there has been a surprise pit stop. Nick Holland has had to come into pit road for the 68, who had some major front-end damage. Might be coming in for strategy call, but also might just have a little bit too much damage for himself. As well as a lot of other drivers have called it a night already. That of Austin Call has already called it a night. And for Philip Chavez, Lyle Christensen, they both have decided to sit in pit road for extended time, but they're both back out on track. As you are watching the Full Send Racing Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Got Trevor Earhart with me up in the booth, and as well running productions in the background is Robert Moyer Jr. Trevor, right now it is all that of Zach Hall getting by that of Cole Sacchetti. And Cole was leading for a bit there, but it seemed like Zach might have been playing a little bit of a possum there, letting the 42 make that pass.
Yeah, I feel like Zach, might have been saving the tire. We talked about maybe he burned him up a little bit too much early on in that run, but maybe, kind of dummied us into thinking that. Maybe he had a little bit more saved in the tank there as he let the 42 of Sacchetti get around him, lead for, 10 or so laps, and then the 32 of Zach just drove right back by Sacchetti. Sacchetti looking like he's starting to struggle a little bit on corner exit. I've seen the rear end of that 42 machine starting to step out on the occasional corner exit.
Starting to step out just a little bit, and we are around that point where in our first 30 laps of this race, when we got that late caution when drivers were getting a little bit too loose. So could be getting to that realm of drivers that are too close to one another. Someone might get loose, might cause an accident. So everyone's got to be careful with one another. And some of those questionable places that we could be watching out for. 8th place is one of those that I'm curious about on how they're going to continue on, as it's going to be that of the 26 of Travis Dart and as well Blair Patterson, who are going to be the two drivers, some of the closest with one another currently right now, as well as they're being caught by the two-time champ of Cameron Sarton, and Sarton is putting down some pretty consistent lap times and pretty happy at this moment, I would say, for the 24, and the fact that he is at least caught up and is now in the top 10.
Yeah, up to 10th position. Just really quiet night for Cameron Sarton in that 24 machine. Really haven't talked much about him, but quietly worked his way into the top 10, tracking down the 91 of Patterson and Travis Dart. And Travis having a really good run for himself in that 26 machine up here in the top 10. But he's got to watch out and be careful now, because Blair Patterson trying to make a move for that 9th position in that 91, or I'm sorry, for the 8th position in that 91 machine, looking to the inside.
Trying to make this pass as quickly as he can, and trying to just hover on the inside. That of 24 is going to be following in suit, as they're hoping to make this run work. It just won't. There's just too much power on the outside. That run that of Dart is getting is too powerful. We're past halfway, by the way, with our commercial break, and with that, our small little update for everyone that might be joining us right now. We had our stage break winner, Chris Stitz, caught up into a wreck. He won the stage, got an interview, and then got a little bit too mixy with the 13, who got wiggly there on the exit of turn 4. That going to be Chris Essery, as well as going to be seeing our stage break winner of the 17, Chris Stitz, made contact, both went into the grass in the entry of turn 3, all the way back, and that a lap 46. And since then, both have been on a recovery run. Both are inside of our top 20 now, but strugglesome parts there. Haven't really seen too much issues since that moment, as we've only had that of one official DNF, and that's Austin Call, the 18, that has called it a day. Everyone else now trying to prepare. When do you come into pit road? One of the drivers that might lead that march is going to be that of the 9, of Brian Wilson, who is coming into pit road now.
Yeah, Wilson deciding not to pit at the stage break brings that 9 machine down to pit road. This is that strategy call we were talking about, Sam. When was that 9 going to pit? And also, wouldn't be surprised to see the 43 come down pit road of Logan Keys here in the next couple of laps as well, and get those 4 fresh tires and see if their strategy is going to work out for them.
Yeah, and with that of Logan Keys, again, did not take tires, but to take fuel. So he's going to be able to stretch it out a little bit further than everyone else, but he has to do what we call an undercut, that is pitting sooner than everyone else, because if he wants to have the fresher tires, you're going to be able to gain time, and he's already lost too much by staying out there on track. Already almost 16 seconds off the leader is a tough place to be for a driver that at one moment, he was actually battling for second and third place, but that off-ball strategy, I'm still scratching my head over it. Trevor, if you're a driver that's already has the track position, why even attempt to go with an off-ball strategy like this?
You know, I'm right there with you, Sam. I don't have an answer for you on the strategy call, but you know, some drivers feel like, hey, we got to do something different than everybody around us, and you know, why not try something different? And it worked for him and Brian Wilson there for the first 10 or so laps of that run. But after the tires really got up to temperature, they just started falling back through the field, and at that point, you just start to question it and wonder what the strategy call is there, and we'll have to wait and see if it's going to work out for him or if he lost too much time.
A lot of time in this current moment is you also see that John Dart got the pole last week at Daytona, but then was caught up in some wrecks. The 99, not the finish that he wanted, but here tonight decided to kind of do the opposite. Qualified 27th and now up 15 positions in 12th. John Dart for a decent run here at Miami as the drivers are all getting prepared for pit stops, so they are now inside of the zone to be able to make it from here to the end, and that means the pit window, with it being open, we will decide to take that undercut shot. Brian Wilson just on the cusp of being able to make it with pitting as early as he did. Everyone else going to feel a lot more comfortable, but that's kind of going to be a hard decision. When do you want to come in? We were given the numbers of 48 to 50 laps when you're by yourself. The drivers are just hitting the 50 window, so that's right at the line to make it. But Trevor, if you're able to, do you feel like stretching the fuel out as long as possible is the better route to take, as the drivers can still go about that of 10 to 12 more laps?
Yeah, I think you're going to want to be on the later end of the pit cycle. I think having the fresher tires at the end of the run is going to be the most important thing. The undercut's going to give you that gap, but I feel like the difference in speed that we've seen all night long on these old tires compared to new tires is going to really be advantageous for the guys who decide to run the fuel run out as long as they can.
And drivers that, again, a lot of the front runners were expecting that, push it as far as you can go. Some drivers, though, deeper in the field. So we talked about how there was an incident between Essery and Stitz. Well, Essery's in 15th. Stitz mired all the way back here, battling for that a 17th position for the 17 as he's trying to get by that of the rookie of Nick Gould. Gould, who is just trying to have a decent run, finishing the top 20, looks to be possible for himself, but he's got to be worrisome because another driver that had issues, Andrew Medlin, in 19th position, trying to catch up to this group. And for that of the 12, we saw in the last restart, got pushed up in the outside wall, got a lot of damage for himself. That cold tires just did not stick, as over the radio, getting a lot of words. Drivers into pit road. Ryan Lynch is already in his box. A couple of others expecting to come in this time.
Yeah, Lynch was the first one, I think, of our main guys that have already made their pit stop, or that were on that same pit strategy coming down pit road. And here comes the 26 of Travis Dart, the 91 of Blair Patterson. They're both going to come down to make their final pit stops of the race. And it's all about getting in your box, getting out of your box. Don't speed down pit road. Don't make a mistake so you don't lose any more time if you have to.
And as well, here comes that of Keys into his box, trying to get some great into pit road. You want to be as fast as you can be, but don't want to be caught speeding, as a black flag could ruin your night. And pace speed, 50 miles per hour all the way down pit road. And drivers getting in their box, taking off. A clean entry for the 43, I thought, but he overshot his box, had it back up just slightly.
Yeah, that's a mistake, Sam, that you just can't make. And especially for Logan Keys, already being on that oddball strategy of having lost all that track position, now going to give up another, 1 or 2 seconds by having to back up into his box and just lose a little bit more time. So he's going to have to take a little bit more life out of those tires trying to make up for it.
Logan Keys, that's got to be so frustrating for this driver. Qualified third, was running up front until that halfway marker at our stage break, went with a very gutsy call of just taking fuel, and it just seems to be backfiring. I like to say, there's some drivers that have self-sabotaging tendencies, where I'm hoping for the rookie of Logan Keys, that is not something we see throughout the rest of the season, but that looks like a major mistake. Again, what that of the 43 is hoping for is 4 cautions that come out later in this race, so they have an advantage in some way over the rest of the field. But currently, right now, 1 lap down is that of Logan Keys.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do ahead of himself if he wants to get back on the lead lap and get back up in the front. He need a couple of cautions. You know, silently, Sam, a driver that, again, haven't talked a lot about, but we know is quick on the long run, is Ross Tatum. 21, last season's champ, up to 5th position in that 21 machine. Slowly starting to reel in Will Bustler, in the 15 to Kane Campbell.
Yeah, and for that of Will Bustler, I think also you could say that he was kind of under the radar as well, kind of type of a race here this evening. You got the champ from last season, the great underdog Cinderella story of Will Bustler that almost came to full fruition last season's playoff run, and excited to see them up inside of our top 5 for both of them as more drivers hit pit road. It's going to be Christopher Wade and Kyle Carpenter, as well as another gaggle of cars coming in. That's going to be Ryan Sendoff, as well as going to be that of Essery, Stitz, and Nick Gould, all hitting pit road, and a couple of others going to be coming in this next lap.
It's going to be interesting, Sam. I was watching it. Stitz was slowly starting to reel in Essery, and we saw the contact made on the backstretch on the restart. So these two are going to be fairly close coming off of pit road. Is there going to be any retaliation between the 17 to the 13? We'll have to wait and see. But right now, getting their pit stops done as we wait and see what our leaders are, Zach Hall, Cole Sketty, Campbell, Russell, and Tatum, what they're going to decide to do, if they're going to come down pit road this time or come down a couple laps later.
And for both of them, they've both switched on who was leading. So they've gotten a little bit of draft assistance throughout this run. So they can go maybe up to about that lap 93 to 94, maybe even 95. They really have been trying to save their fuel. But that's around the longest that they can go before they need to come into pit road. For a lot of these drivers, once they come in, it's going to be using their 3rd of their 4 sets possible in pit road, meaning they've only got 1 more set after this next pit stop to try to make a gambling move. And for the other drivers, some of them have 2 sets to work with. But at this point of the race, even if there's a late caution, it doesn't seem like it's going to be too much of an assistance with how the laps are starting to dwindle away.
Yeah, I think if we got a late caution, that extra set of tires really isn't going to help the guys who have saved it. You know, Tatum, Siegel, Sarton, they've all made their pit stops. Sacchetti now, 2nd place man down pit road along with the one of Will Bustler. They make their what could possibly be their final pit stops of the night, leaving Zach Hall, Ken Campbell out there still to make their pit stops along with the 12 of Andrew Medlin. But Medlin's got a ton of right side damage from where he got up into the outside wall. So just wondering if Zach Hall here going to bring that 32 machine down pit road this time by, or if he's going to stay out for another lap.
And Gamble over the radio saying he's going to be coming into pit road. Andrew Medlin should be following in suit. And Zach Hall has not said a peep over the radio. And the reason why he's staying out for another lap for the 32. And the big thing to note on, every lap that Zach stays out, that is giving away 2 more seconds to the drivers that have already come into pit road per lap. That is a lot of time that you're giving up. And you're going to be banking on yourself to run down all that time back.
Yeah, you've got to bank on yourself to get that time back. And at the same time, I mean, you're going to have the fresher tires from everybody around you, but you cannot use those tires up trying to make up the time you gain. You just got to naturally let it come back to you. It's the 32 of Zach Hall, I think, over the radio said he's bringing that 32 down pit road, and here he comes.
Oh, you saw how aggressive it can be. You locked up the tires. And for Zach Hall, watching the flags, that was a very quick entry. Seeing him just trying to relax, settle in, and looking at the flag stand, and somehow did not get caught speeding.
You saw the tense look on his face, and as a driver, I mean, this is the time you know, it's the money stop. You got to be as aggressive as you can. And it's one of the hardest times as a driver. As he takes a sip of water there, catches his breath, he gets his work done on his truck. But I mean, it's hard to do coming from that speed down to pit speed. Easy to make mistakes, easy to lock the tires, but Zach getting everything he could out of that truck coming to pit road.
It's Officer Pit Road takes off, and just like that, he is leading the way at this current moment. For the driver that's expected to take the lead, it's Travis Dart in the 26th, one of the first drivers to come into pit road to start off this pit cycle. He will come out of pit road for himself, and for Zach Hall, Cole Sacchetti, they're almost side by side. Zach Hall has a 2 to 5 lap advantage over everyone he's around. They did not gain any time on him.
I'm at a loss for words, Sam. I figured he'd be 3-4 seconds back behind Sacchetti and Travis Dart, but he's right here, right behind him, about a second behind that of Travis Dart. Zach Hall's looking really good in this position.
I mean, you're like you said, 3, 4, maybe even more seconds ahead, and he is side by side with his competitors that he was practically in the same situation before they came into pit road. This is bizarre scene, but that just shows the amount of drivers that came into pit road together and the way they came off. There was a lot of hard battling, not utilizing those early laps to their fullest, backfiring, and now Zach Hall, Cole Sacchetti. Will there be some hard blocking? And for the 42, he just rides high, hoping that he can find some extra speed. But there's the speed difference. Fresh rubber to old, and Zach Hall from that of third to second, and out of turn number 2, about to take the lead.
I mean, it's just a 2-lap tire advantage for Zach Hall over Cole Sacchetti, 10 laps basically over Travis Dart, as Dart was kind of one of the first trucks to come down pit road. But I mean, it's got to be so gut-wrenching for that of Cole Sacchetti. Come in early, try to get that undercut on your competitor, just to have him come out side by side with you down the backstretch after his pit stop. I mean, it's got to be so heartbreaking for the 42.
And Cole Sacchetti just trying to stay patient and recognizing, not just trying to throw this race away, but hoping that Zach Hall maybe will overuse those tires. There's still a possibility. You just got to protect these tires for the full length of this run. This is probably one of the longer runs that you're going to be pushing these tires to. So you got to be patient. Don't just throw away this race. You're still within a second of Zach Hall. Yes, he might have this advantage. He might pull away in some sorts, but you are banking that Zach Hall is going to overcook these tires, as Christopher Wade going to be trying to make the pass on Travis Dart. Dart expected to go backwards very quickly every time he gets caught by a driver, but he fights on back as the 26 on the entry of turn 1.
Yeah, great crossover move down the front stretch for that of Travis Dart, and then just a power move through 1 and 2, gets to the inside, gets past that of Christopher Wade. So Dart not going to go away quietly. I mean, he's had speed. Sam been up inside the top 10 pretty much all night in that 26 machine. So Travis, even though he's a little bit off sequence compared to everybody around him, he's going to put up a fight.
He is certainly doing his best at this current moment. Then we fall back to the drivers that are around that 8th, 9th, 10th position. That's where we find Jonathan Woods, that Blair Patterson, as well as Ken Campbell, all trying to keep each other close to one another, while also trying to close in on the gap of Will Bustler, Ross Tatum, and everyone ahead. But these drivers that are battling with one another, it's the 15 of Ken Campbell, who's on some of the freshest tires. He is trying his best to move forward, and man, Trevor, this is certainly getting to a point where a big slip up could change everything. But we're seeing the tires and the strategy calls all in this green flag situation has set us up to this last push as we've got ourselves 33 laps to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Campbell might have had a pit road, error, maybe slid through his box, wasn't as aggressive. I mean, he was up there, I believe, in 3rd or 4th position when this pit cycle started. And all the way to Sam back here battling for what is 7th, 8th, or 6th, 7th, 8th. 15, Campbell, I mean, must have had some issues. He's trying to get around the 2 here, Jonathan Woods.
I think it could be also the entry and the off-axis roads that drivers could have been having that issue. I mean, that can be a comfort zone where drivers sometimes are a little bit more passive on getting out, transferring from pit road. Once you're out of the pit road and there's no more speed limit, you're trying to get back up this speed on the apron. Sometimes drivers are a lot more conservative, others are aggressive, and that could be costing you greatly on time, and potentially could be that, or also the entry is where drivers can gain and lose a lot of the majority of their time that you see under pit road.
And you're right. I mean, you can, like you said, the entry, exit, it's all spots the drivers can gain and lose time, but Campbell lost a lot of time trying to make that up now as he looks to the inside of the 77 of Kyle Carpenter here in 1 and 2. Almost clear of the 77. Looks like he's going to get Carpenter clear, but Carpenter with a run off the top line down the backstretch, but Campbell's going to be able to clear him going halfway down the back.
And Campbell looking good. The 15 looking spry and pulling away as he's trying to gain as many positions as possible. And as all these drivers running here tonight, we want to give a huge shout out to ourselves on our charity push. Again, talked about it at the top of the broadcast when we were getting through qualifying. That is our Daytona 500 for that of the Juvenile Research Foundation. It's our 2nd annual charity race. We had the 6-hour endurance race last year in January. This year we are doing the full Daytona 500. February 11th, and there are still spots to be gained. If you look at the top of our chat, if you scroll up, you'll see our link to our Discord. That's our community Freaky Fast Broadcasting Discord, where you can find the entry forms, the donation link, donate $5, and take your seat to race for that of our charity, Daytona 500. And also, if you'd like to just donate, be a part of our charity push. We've had tons of drivers say, hey, can't make the race, but we still want to donate. And if you want to be part of that group of drivers, go on and be as charitable as you would like. Again, this is a very important charity to us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, for that of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. As well, want to give a big, huge thanks to another one of our major sponsors here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. That's the Admin Box. The Admin Box is a premium button box. It's a plug, set, and go. Become the best admin or race control out there for league races and hosted races. Remember to use our promo code FFB-BOXX. That's FFB-box with 2 X's today when you go purchase at Admin Box. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and as well, one last one for us here tonight. That is our merch, Freaky Fast merch. We were pushing it for the holiday season. I know winter time is still here. Might want to get cozied up. Got some hoodies, got some t-shirts. Go check them out. Plenty of sizes for you. A couple of colors to switch around. Go get your Freaky Fast merch today. Again, that is also at the top of our chat, right next to our charity Discord, to go join our charity race. Drivers are racing along side by side on screen, and it's Ken Campbell again making another pass in Trevor. Man, what a run. This 26 has been having up front, with the 15, the better tires taking that advantage.
And Dart finally starting to struggle a little bit on those older tires, starting to drop back through the field. And that 26 Campbell trying to make up for that time lost on the pit cycle, gets around that of Travis Dart as Dart continues to slowly fall back through the field, but still a good run for him, up into 7th position, 14 spots from actually where Travis started here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of drivers have been having some major pushes forward. Christopher Wade, great run. Travis Dart is up plenty of positions. Jonathan Woods, all 3 of those drivers up 14 positions. Another driver that's almost up 14 positions, that's John Dart back in 14th. 14 seems to be the number of the night on positions being gained, as the 99 trying to take that 14th position for himself on gained positions. As this group that we're seeing on screen, they're being caught, and it's by the driver that won our stage, that got the pole, Chris Stitz, back in 15th place. He is on the move with some old tires, fresher than the ones ahead.
Yes, it's kind of another one of those early drivers to come down pit road. Came down pit road on lap 89. Not quite sure how much damage he has to the right side of that truck. It's a little bit of a spoiler damage on the 17 after the contact with Essery, but slowly starting to run down that of Ryan Lynch and John Dart. And not too far ahead of those two is that aforementioned Chris Essery. He's up there in 12th position in the 13. And so if Stitz can continue this pace, might be able to track back down that 13 machine.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking at a really good run to at least get up to that 13 machine. Might even be able to crack into 11th place at the pace that he's going right now. As we're coming up and seeing the laps tick away, we're about to be with that of 23 laps to go. Zach All leads the charge with that of almost 3 seconds over the rest of the field. So we're getting a sense here, trying to make the pass. It's Chris Stitz diving it down low, getting by the 3 of Ryan Lynch. And Ryan Lynch has been feeling comfortable in that outside lane, but when you have this old of tires, you need heroic surges like this. He's right to the back bumper, but not close enough to try to go for a pass.
Got the really good run, just nowhere to go with it. We're going to have to fall back a little bit here in turn 1 and 2. Interesting to see those down here on the bottom. Typically in 1 and 2, we've seen them up near the wall, but deciding to go down here on the bottom, maybe pulling the tires, just not as comfortable up there on the wall as he was once before on the fresh tires. But another spot for Stitz as he slowly tries to recover from that incident after the stage break.
Stitz might be just hoping that tonight he can get any spots and positions he can and get prepared for next week. Next week going to be a tougher course than even what we saw here tonight. We saw the chaos. We saw the 3-4 wide at times. There was almost 5 wide at one moment. And next week, it gets even crazier. The drivers are heading to the last great Coliseum. It's Bristol for 210 laps. Trevor, a track where drivers, in some races that we've covered here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we've been having gridlock wrecks at times. You never know what you can find at Bristol.
Yeah, if you're 5 wide at Bristol, I think a calamity has ensued at some point somewhere on the track, and it's probably not a good thing, but Bristol, I mean, what an interesting three race slate we've had so far in full send. Daytona, week 1 here at Homestead, multi-grooves, and then we go to the short bank, or the short track high banks at Bristol Motor Speedway. I can't wait to get there next week and see what's going to happen. Maybe some tempers carry over from last week and this week to Bristol, who knows? But definitely looking forward to that race next week.
Oh, definitely. As then after Bristol next week, we head to Auto Club for 100 laps there, and then what most truck series, some avoid, some embrace it fully. It's dirt track racing as the drivers will head to Eldora for that of 100 laps in the mud, and then they'll have an off week for Valentine's Day, which we'll see how much love is in the air after that break as we head back into the season. But these first 5 races, certainly a lot of diversity on the different styles of racing, the skill levels. And I think this is going to help a lot of the drivers throughout the season, especially for the rookies, to get themselves a little bit more adequate to this field and get ready for the season, as we got to see that at Logan Keys. He was strong in the first half of this race before a stage break where he tried an off strategy. It has not worked too well for that of the 43. We've also have seen that of Jonathan Woods. He won last week for the season opener. We also have seen other drivers look strong from our rookie class. I gotta say, this rookie class, I'm excited to see how much they change things up to the drivers that have been dominant, like that of Zach Hall, Cole Sicchetti, our 2-time champ Cameron Sarton. There is a lot of thundering, strong vehicles out there on track. This rookie class is trying their best.
Yeah, they're trying their best, and we got caution.
Caution flag comes out, and it's the 9, Brian Wilson. Back that in 22nd position, bringing out the yellow, and it looks to be a self-spin by that of the 9 machine.
Yeah, maybe just got a little bit loose down there and coming off of turn 2, not quite sure, but this is going to get interesting, Sam. It's going to bring everybody down pit road and restack the field, and not what Zach Hall wanted to see is he just start to pull away from everybody.
We're getting our replay ready for the 9, and very interesting to see how this wreck comes out. As drivers get set up and the timing of this wreck, drivers that have a set of tires, you have to come in at this point. And if you've got 2 sets of tires, now you're hoping for a little bit of fortunes to happen after a short green flag run. A lot of different scenarios that they're hoping to see happens here. But, oh man, Trevor, this is going to change things up dramatically as we're trying to find the exact replay for the 9 machine.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to really make things interesting, especially if we get like a short, 10-lap run and another caution. Those good drivers with extra set of tires could really, really benefit from that. But right now, everybody's going to come down pit road and grab 4 fresh tires. But Zach Hall did not want to see that caution stand. Was out, I believe, to about a 4-second gap over that of Cole Sicchetti, and was just cruising, hoping to get to the end of this race.
Yeah, and now Zach gets placed in a situation where he has not been the strongest, which is being on the same set of tires around the other drivers that can be quick and be pushing it. And we're at the point of this race where it's kind of a shootout. You're not saving tires too dramatically. You're trying to push and be aggressive, which might be a sign of those that have that quick 1-lap shootout type of a pace might be able to find themselves taking some spots, as we weren't able to find the replay, but it was the 9 self-spinning out and just bringing out this yellow by himself.
Yeah, I went back and looked at it. Looks like halfway through turn 2, Wilson just looks more like he got loose on corner entry and just was trying to catch it the whole way through the center of the corner, and then finally it just snapped on him on corner exit. Nice little lazy spin to the inside grass. Does a really good job keeping it out of the inside wall going through the grass, but it looks like it just never settled on him on corner entry.
Yeah, and one of those things, I mean, listening to his throttle, it seemed like he tried to really let off and then kind of jab back to the throttle a little bit too soon. Just got that rear ends kicked out and spinning around too quickly. But that brings out just what's wild to think, only our second on-track incident to bring out a yellow. Our other caution that made us a total of 3 here tonight was our stage break caution at the end of lap 40. And Trevor, just a few accidents and only a few drivers out of the race. That's Austin Call, Lyle Christensen are the only drivers officially out of this race.
Yeah, Lyle Christensen, after some contact early on, I believe that was with, I can't remember quite who that was with, but that was early on in the race, got some engine damage for himself. I believe it was with K-Spear, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was that was when K-Spear went up to the moon with his accident.
Yeah, they made some contact. That was early on, and then we had the contact with Chavez and Austin Call, and Austin Call decided surprisingly to turn into a spaceship, I think is the best way to put that. At turn number 2 was our second caution. Then, like you said, the stage break. And like I'm with you, Sam. I'm surprised with how close these guys have been racing, especially mid pack. How hard they've been racing. That we haven't seen some more on track incidents.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a couple of incidents where drivers gotten up in the outside wall. A couple of, door bangs have happened, some scrapes. I would imagine the biggest of those being that of Essery and Chris Stitz, who are going to be starting right with one another, 13th and 14th. We'll see how well they want to play nice with one another. And then also Andrew Medlin, mired all the way back in 21st position. He's going to have a lot of work as he's got heavily damaged after clobbering the outside wall on our last restart. And I think this is where we're going to be seeing a lot of drivers trying to learn how do you want to take this restart, because of the fact that this could be a lot of drivers being either forced down on the apron, pushed up to the outside wall with fresh rubber, and not a lot of laps to run with.
Now going to have about 13 laps on this restart to the end of the race, so there's really no chance to save tires. You got to be aggressive from the go, get as many spots as you can, and this is where we could see, a big incident from these drivers as they try to get aggressive with one another. And it's going to be interesting to see. Like you said, Zach Hall hasn't shown the greatest of short run speed, and right there with him, Will Bustler and that of Ross Tatum as well, the 1 and the 21 starting 3rd and 4th. They haven't had the greatest of short run speed either. They've been more the long run trucks as well. So we'll have to wait and see how those 3 do here on the short run.
As Ross Tatum, a little bit of blinking action there for the 21. He's hoping that can get cleared up. But up front, Zach Hall had over a 4-second lead before that lazy spin that brought out a caution by the 9 of Brian Wilson. It resets, stacks up the field. We got a total of 22 drivers on the lead lap. 13 laps to go, and hey, we do have overtime if needed. Zach Hall ready to see how this restart's going to go. That of Cole Sacchetti on the out of groove. We're green for the ButtKicker 200 here at Homestead, and it's Zach Hall with the best launch you could ask for now, trying to pull away from the rest of the field.
As Zach Hall with a great jump over the 42 of Sacchetti, that's going to allow the 21 of Tatum. As Sacchetti gets loose, saves it, overcorrects it into the wall, huge wreck.
And right into the rest of the field. He comes crashing back down, back up into the outside wall, and they continue to try to scatter as drivers, blown engines around everywhere. There's at least 2-3 drivers require damage. Cole Sacchetti, John Dart, Cameron Sarton, all done for the day in just one blink of an eye. You go from being a front runner to all the way to the back. And Cole, man, he was trying to hold off on the outside, but just got loose and overcorrected.
One of those things that happens. Fresh tires. We've seen it all night long. Drivers getting a little loose, and Sacchetti almost had it saved. Just that little bit of an overcorrect shoots the 42 up into the wall. As here we get a replay.
You're going to be seeing the 42 trying to be side by side with the 21, but then just loses it. Almost the same spot the 9 did for himself, but then the tires just grip up when he tries to save it. Comes crashing right back down into that of Cameron Sarton. Going to be seen as well. That's the 91 of Patterson trying to get through. He gets pushing up the 42. That's a little bit of netcode saving. John Dart was not saved by netcode. The 99 gets shoved into the outside wall and scatters, and man, and then the 42 comes crashing back down. And at this point, you're just wondering, when will the momentum and inertia stop? Because that 42 just did not get any time. Didn't matter how much he was locking on those brakes. He was spinning everywhere.
Yeah, just the momentum of being carried there by Patterson. And then poor John Dart, I mean, just thought he had it cleared, and then the 42 shoots back up the track, collects the 99, and then Sacchetti just trying to get a lockdown, slides back down the track, and right here on board with that of John Dart. And you can see just nowhere to go as the 42 gets fired off the top there of the 91 of Patterson, and just nowhere for John Dart to go.
I'm curious, with riding on board with John Dart, was he braking there or was he gassing it up? It seemed like he kind of was just letting it lull out. He wasn't sure where the driver was going to go and kind of slowed down for himself to get caught up in that wreck.
Yeah, it's a weird situation as a driver, because you obviously you want to brake for a wreck, but at the same time, in that situation, you get kind of stuck in the in-between, the indecisiveness. Do you gas it up to try to get around it? Do you slow down to try to avoid it? And for John Dart, didn't quite make that decision quick enough and gets caught up in that incident.
Caught up in the wreck, and now we're going to be coming up to 10 laps to go. And up front, it's Zach Hall, who we've been seeing. He had the lead. He was dominated for a majority of this run and this race. He's been feeling calm, cool, collective. Well, let's get our thoughts from the 32 here in a second as we get him ready into that of our waiting room. But I got to say, Zach Hall, certainly a driver that's been trying a lot of different things. He's been up front. He's had the lead. And let's get the thoughts of the 32. Zach, it's Sam and Trevor up at the booth. You were leading at one point by over 4.5 seconds. The caution comes out, and now we're stuck in this situation. Man, how are you feeling right now?
Nervous for sure. A little bit nervous. I definitely didn't want to see that caution, but I've been happy with the pace. We've had a good truck tonight, and I'm happy I got Ken right behind me. So we're going to try to make sure we can get that 1-2 finish for Freaky Fast Racing,
So, Zach, speaking of nervous, I mean, you just saw probably the second fastest truck all night, Cole Sacchetti, get loose on new tires. I mean, what are the new tires like out there tonight?
I tell you, the new tires are definitely interesting. I think it has something to do with the outside line. When I restarted, I think 6th one time on that outer groove, and I went into there, and Andrew behind me, my teammate Andrew Medlin, he got loose too and snapped oversteered right there and hit the wall. And I had the same feeling. Luckily, I caught it a little bit earlier so I could hold on to it, but yeah, I'm glad I'm on the bottom. I think the bottom will be a little bit better. So we'll see how this works. I'm cautiously optimistic if I can just go out here and execute right.
Well, Zach, we'll let you get back to your team to get ready for this restart, but good luck here tonight.
Thanks, guys.
As that was the driver leading the way, Zach Hall from Freaky Fast Racing. Also got to see his dog in the background get a good old big stretch as we are getting our ready. I mean, this is probably the only time we're going to have a stretch at this point. Trevor, it is going to be less than 10 laps to go, and the chaos might not be done just yet.
Yeah, 8 laps to go here when they get the green flag on this restart. I think Zach said it right. That inside line might have the advantage here. We'll have to see now. The 21 of Ross Tatum, he's going to be that first truck on the outside line going into turn number 1. So we'll have to see if Ross can keep that 21 machine straight and what's going to happen here on this restart. But more chaos likely to unfold here as these laps wind down and this intensity is going to keep ramping up.
Well, big thanks to everyone that's been watching here tonight. You are watching the Full Send Racing Series. This is only the second race of the season for the ButtKicker 200 here at Homestead, and all the coverage on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart. Robert Moyer running productions in the background. And here we go. Green for 8 more laps, or will we need overtime as Zach Hall is going to get a great launch, already scattering 3 wide before they even get to turn 1, deeper in the field, but the 32 trying to pull away.
Did exactly what he needed to do. He said he needed to executed great on that restart. Tatum with a really good restart as well, was able to survive that outside line, but got passed by Campbell, but gives a shot to Campbell down the backstretch. Going to look to the inside now. Tatum inside to King Campbell, down into 3 and 4. The 21 trying to get back to second, pushes up a little bit, but hangs on to it as that battle continues off of 4.
He's hanging for now. He might have pushed up in the entry of the corner, but the exit's strong for Ross Tatum. A little bit of rushing into the walls, the 77. And Kyle Carpenter has everyone from 4th on back, stacking up with one another. Have to be careful, but we've got some drivers that have not been up inside of the top 10 for the majority of the night. Now with an opportunity, but the driver that's loving how this race is rolling on, Zach Hall, already a half a second ahead of everyone here.
Yeah, Zach Hall has jumped out to a half a second advantage as Tatum and that of Campbell battled with one another up to, or that for second. But Sam, look who's up to that of 6th position, looking to the inside almost for 5th position. That's Chris Stitz, the man who was wrecked after the stage break all the way back to 20th. He's looking to go to the inside of Christopher Wade for 5th position.
He might have been wrecked out. He got the pole at the start of the race. We got to talk to him as our stage break winner. Almost like you can say, the commentator's curse came out for that of the 17, and now he has worked his way forward up to 6th place, and he's trying to get by that of Christopher Wade. Everyone's single filing out, and this is that point of the race where you're hoping for mistakes by the drivers ahead of you, as everyone's tires are practically at the same footing. You're not going to see a major drop-off for at least another 5 laps, which means that's on the white flag when we might be seeing the biggest mistakes pop up.
Yeah, we almost saw a big mistake on the front stretch. Nick Gould in the 14 machine got loose out of turn 4, had to go all the way down to the inside line and save that. He falls from, I believe, 12th position all the way back to what is going to be 18th. That 14 machine had a great save, though, but everybody else trying to find any little bit of momentum that they can working their way up through the field, hoping that somebody makes a mistake, gets loose in front of them so they can get that pass done.
Trying every little margin that you can. Coming to 4 laps to go for Zach Hall. Ross Tatum is closing in very slowly, and at the rate that the 21 is going, he might catch up to Zach with 2 laps to go. But the question is, you can catch up to the driver, but can you make the pass? Especially with some blocking action we're expecting to see here late in this race. But the drivers from 3rd on back, they are now piled onto one another, and Stitz is caught up to 5th place.
Yeah, this is where everybody's kind of been stacked up. Campbell kind of stacked up that of Bustler and Wade. That allowed Stitz to get to the inside of Christopher Wade here down the front stretch. That 17 machine trying to recover as best he can from that incident. Gonna look to the inside down here into turn number 1, dives it in, stays on that seam, gets a good center of the corner, but I believe the 53 Wade's gonna have that drive off here coming down the backstretch.
And also going to be having the draft assistance of everyone on the outside lane. No one is coming down to help the 17 at all. No one is helping, and he's stalling out. Nowhere to go, but back up to the lead. It's Zach Hall, Ross Tatum. Tatum, who was a half a second back, well, he's cut that gap in half for himself. It's now just that of a little bit over 2.5 tenths. It's 2 to go as here we go when it turns 1 and 2.
It's going to run that middle line, try to get a little bit of clean air on the nose of that truck, get it turned a little bit better. But Zach with a great 1 and 2 on the bottom gets a really good drive off from that of Ross Tatum. But Tatum trying to make a little bit of momentum back down back on the back straightaway, dives all the way to the bottom of the white line, but overdrives it just a little bit. Going to give up a little bit of time here on corner exit.
He's trying to hold on the best that he can, but out of turn number 4 here at Homestead, it's your freaky fast white flag. No more caution flags will be thrown. It's all about who crosses the line first. Zach Hall, he built up a gap. It was big enough to hold off, and now the 32 through 1 and 2 looks solid. He just got 1 more corner to go.
Down the back straightaway, Zach Hall with about a 4 truck link lead over that of Ross Tatum into 3 and 4. He's going to dive it all the way in to the white line here. Ross dives it in equally as hard, trying to get to the back bumper. Not going to get there. Zach Hall off at turn number 4, clear sailing for the 32 to the line.
You could practically call it a little bit of perfection. He was the fastest at practice, almost the fastest at qualifying, and wins here at the ButtKicker 200. Zach Hall, that fruity machine, gets it done.
Great win from Zach Hall. Ross Tatum comes up so close there in 2nd position. Campbell holds on to 3rd. But Chris Stitz able to get up into the top 5. What a recovery for that 17 machine.
It was fantastic for that of Chris Stitz. What a recovery for himself. Fell all the way back. But Zach Hall, the pressure. You didn't know if he, with fresh tires, if he was going to be able to hold off for the win. He talked about the factor of having his teammate behind him, Ken Campbell. I mean, gotta say, him holding off Ross Tatum as long as he did was the key factor on why Zach Hall was able to hold off and get this win here tonight.
Yeah, those two battling really helped Zach out. Was able to build that, half-second lead that I think ultimately got him, was ultimately helped him hold off that of Ross Tatum. As Tatum, I think, had a little bit more speed there on the short run, Sam, but Zach Hall able to get it done here tonight at Homestead.
Able to get it done, and for us up at the booth, we are not done fully for ourselves. We still have the post-race show, talk to our top 2, and a guest interviewee. We'll be back in just a few moments. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the Full Send Racing Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart, and what an incredible race we got to see at that of Homestead for the ButtKicker 200. Zach Hull able to climb through the field and got the perfect timing for those restarts to get him in the lead and find himself in victory lane, where we pull in that of the 32 machine. Zach, we got you up here, man. Congratulations. We also have you on camera. Man, how are you feeling after this one?
I'm worn out. That was a tough race, man. I'm sweating, doing a lot of things, getting more gray hair. Those cautions definitely worried me a good little bit, but we got it done, man. Ross was super fast right there too at the end. When I saw him clear Ken, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to really work for this now and try to figure out how to hold him back. And he was running a little higher line in 1 and 2, and I kind of seen that in my mirror. He was gaining through 1 and 2, so I was like, I got to move up the racetrack. I just got to do it. And luckily, it seemed like that was the deal there. As soon as I moved up the racetrack, he stopped gaining, and man, just feels good to get that first win of the season right there, already in the second race, and lock myself in the playoffs. And it's just a really good team race overall too, because the guys Ken fit bringing home third, real proud of him for doing that. But Andrew unfortunately had a mistake there and it got into the wall, but he was super fast, and I got to credit them for everything because those guys helped me so much throughout the week.
Zach, you touched on it in the interview right before we went back racing there. You had to execute. You executed great on that last restart. You get the win. You're locked into the playoffs 2 races in. I mean, kind of what does this do for your mindset for the rest of the season before we get to those playoffs?
Well, I was personally concerned coming into the season. Switch from the extended car. I felt like my style would fit that car a little better. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but the truck must work pretty well for me. I mean, especially here at Homestead, it seemed like I couldn't figure out how to keep the right rear under me. And I finally figured it out there, like that second run after changing tire. After a stage, I kind of figured it out. And from there, it was good. But just to get that weight off your shoulders of, and you got to win, you're locked in. It takes a lot of pressure off. Then I can help focus on, getting my teammates also in a better position also and helping them because, again, like I said, they helped me so much throughout the week. And with Bristol coming up next week, I'm glad to get a win because I'm definitely not winning there. If I win there, it's definitely was off luck.
Well, luck might be the key when you head to Bristol. But Zach, congratulations on this win again. We saw a lot of the issues on those, drivers were having issues at trying to save their cars underneath them. But with this pressure now being lifted off, are you expecting yourself to just, try to cruise through and get as many wins as possible? Or is this now, try to turn the table? Now, how do I help my teammate get to victory lane?
Kind of both. If I feel like I can go for the win, I'm going to go for it. I mean, as teammates, we're there to help each other as much as possible. But when that, white flag flies, you got to go for it yourself. You got to get as many wins as possible and try to build as much momentum and just as not much knowledge. But I really feel like with the group we got, there's gonna be multiple wins from each of us. So I'm excited to see how it plays out. And yeah, I tell you, I didn't expect this. I was expecting a good run. Felt like I'd have some good pace, but the long run speed just seemed to be there at the end of the race. I don't know. It just when something clicks, it just clicks.
And it certainly looked great out on track. Congratulations on this win, Zach. Before I let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Well, first off, shout out again to Ken and Andrew at Freaky Fast Racing. The best teammates you could have here in this league, man. Those guys practice so much. They are like so meticulous about everything, and I am like, it's such a pleasure to be on their team because I don't have much time to practice really personally. I got a lot of stuff going on throughout the week, a lot of other stuff, and I didn't get any practice, so I kind of, just went based off of what they said, and personally, everything they said worked. So I got to first off give them the biggest shout out of all. Shout out Freaky Fast Broadcasting. I mean, Freaky Fast Racing Team, Freaky Fast Broadcasting. I mean, it's the family. So definitely shout out to all you guys up there. And then last but not least, all the series sponsors. They're so great here at this league, and just in general, this league is one of the funnest leagues I've ever ran in, from straight up, and that's no lie at all. So I'm excited for the rest of the season and going to figure out how to go out there and try to do this each and every week.
Well, that is going to be the 32 machine of Zach Hall. Congratulations on the win and good luck at Bristol next week.
Thanks, guys.
As we go from victory lane, we head ourselves over to second place, where it's the 21 of Ross Tatum. He was trying so many different tactics, but it just was not enough at the end. We've got last season's champion Ross Tatum with us. Ross, Second place finish, not too bad for 2 weeks in a row. But man, how are you feeling after that one?
Relieved, honestly, coming out here with a second after that race was not too bad. Wish I had more for Zach, man, but he's just so good at every track. He's good at saving his tires. He's good at going fast. So he's gonna be hard to beat this season. So finish second to Zach's not too bad. Just really fun race overall. I had a lot of fun tonight. Ross, I mean, walk us through that final restart. We talked to Zach right before it. You saw the 42 of Sacchetti on that outside line get loose going into one and overcorrect. We saw it a couple times throughout the course of the night on restarts, that outside line being treacherous. I mean, what's going through your head on that final restart being on that outside line? Honestly, with the new restart rules on iRacing, it's a little hectic. It's not very fun to be the second place guy now because you don't really know when you can go. I only have a single monitor, so it's really hard to see beside me, and I can't really look left and go straight at the same time. I don't have that ability, so uh, it it it's kind of like a disadvantage. But that was probably the best restart I've done on it because I've done it a few times at the Coliseum and Daytona once or twice. So um, coming out of the corner third, and then I was able to get back under Ken. That's pretty good. So I'll take a second after that because I really thought after starting on the outside, I was probably gonna finish like fifth or sixth, honestly.
Well, you finished second and did the same thing last week at Daytona. And with being last season's champion, how is this feeling momentum wise in the trucks, trying to go for back to back championships? We're heading now to a very difficult course at Bristol. What are your thoughts heading to the short track?
Love Bristol. I'm excited for it. The main thing for me is just going to be keeping the tires on it next week. So I'm looking forward to that. It feels good to get some second places, but man, I'd really love to win. I think this is 3 straight races that I've ran that I finished second. So hopefully I can flip the page and go get a win. But at the same time, finishing second in these early season races when the fields are packed is always a good thing. It's the main thing right now is just getting plenty of points for the playoffs. And also my teammates, man, none of us have finished out of the top 10 yet. So it's just been a really good week, couple weeks, and just looking forward to Bristol, man. It should be a lot of fun.
Certainly should be. Before I let you go, Ross, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Thanks, guys. Obviously, got to thank Coca-Cola. That's always the one I got to thank the most because they pay all my bills. Um, then I got a list, so I won't miss the sponsors this week. I got to thank Next Level Racing, ButtKicker, and Lap Traffic Podcast for sponsoring the league. All those sponsors, man, that make this league happen. It's really appreciated by us iRacers. I got to thank Freaky Fast. You guys are the absolute best. I literally can't race anywhere that you guys are not broadcasting at this point. I just love going back and watching all the races on the big screen. It's great quality. And I'm really looking forward to y'all's charity race next week or a couple weeks at Daytona. That's going to be a lot of fun. And just got to thank my teammates, Will, Jonathan, and Chris. It's my dream team. So I'm excited. This whole season is going to be a lot of fun. And just can't wait till the next one.
That's going to be 21 Machine of Ross Tatum. Congratulations on second, and good luck next week at Bristol.
Thanks, guys.
Well, as we head from third place, we head to fourth place for a driver that finished in the top 3 last week, but we didn't get to have a chance to talk to him, but we'll talk to him now here tonight. What a storyline by this one machine. We've got that of Will Bustler. Will, you had a very interesting night, like a few of other drivers that were able to finish in the top 10. You qualified 14th, had to work your way up. You were in the middle, in the thick of things for majority of the night, but man, how are you feeling coming away with a 4th place finish?
Oh, awesome. I appreciate it. This is a great track to race at with the trucks. Definitely there were some hairy moments, whether getting loose in the bottom, some trucks drifting up to you, but it was really fun. I had a blast.
Well, you and Ross tended to be one of the faster trucks, especially on the long run. I mean, walk us through, especially the middle portion of that race after the stage, green flag pit stops. What's the truck like on the long run and getting through traffic, especially on old tires?
It's definitely a challenge. Even on new tires, it was tough to pass. We just kind of talked it out, just kind of give each other feedback as we were going through the run. He was letting me know where he was, getting down on that first seam. I try to mimic it as best as possible. I know how Ross is. We communicate a lot during the race, even when we're not racing. So he's a big help, not only to me, to Jonathan and Wade. So it's just managing the tires, staying clean, and just hoping for the best outcome in the end.
Well, I know that hoping for the best outcome is also going to translate into next week. We're heading to Bristol, short track racing at the Last Great Coliseum. How are you feeling with our first destination to a short track?
Oh, I'm nervous. I'm not a huge short track driver. I'd rather race Homestead and Auto Club week to week. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll see how it goes. But as always, it's a great league to race in. So you never know. Could come out, with a solid finish, and I'd be perfectly okay with that.
Well, Will, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Appreciate it. Gotta thank the sponsors for the league, ButtKicker, Next Level Racing. Thank Freaky Fast. You guys put on a heck of a broadcast. Everybody go check their site out. Go get registered for their event next month. It's for a great cause. Teammates Ross, Woods, Chris Wade. I think everybody that runs the league, they do a heck of a job. So appreciate it.
That is going to be the number one machine, Will Bustler, our spotlight driver of the night. Congratulations on the fourth place finish, and good luck next week.
Thanks, fellas.
Well, as we go from our interviews, we head off to look at the unofficial results, as a lot of drivers had ups and downs throughout the night, and some drivers that really we thought were going to be up front battling for the win just had to go recovery mode for themselves. But man, when we look at these results, gotta say, Trevor, what a wild night it was with some of these major wrecks that we had.
Yeah, definitely a wild and interesting night. Is just looking through the field. I mean, you got Stitz with a great recovery back up to fifth. I mean, Christopher Wade up 12 spots from where he started. Jonathan Woods 15. Ryan Stenhoff up 11. And some guys with some great runs, but then you look back down there, you got Andrew Medlin after getting into the wall down in 16, the 13, as well as Essery. I mean, after the contact with Stitz down there in 12, and a couple other, John Dart was having a good run until he got caught up in it, especially Cole Sacchetti. I mean, he was up there battling with Zach, had a chance to win it, gets loose out of turn number 2, all the way back there in 24th.
Yeah, I mean, you look through the rest of the rundown as well. I mean, Austin Call, that was not the way that he wanted to see his night end for the 18. But, with the way that these drivers were running throughout the night, the way the progressive banking is, it's going to be changing up the factors on who is going to be where and how the speed's going to change when also the track starts to cool off. It was crazy, it was wild, and it was fun to watch here at Homestead. But Trevor, before we end our call, any final thoughts on your end?
Great race overall. A lot of hard battling. Saw the evolution of the track, especially when it started to cool off. Drivers really starting to use that outside line to their advantage. But got to throw it all away next week. Short track, high speeds, high banking, and Bristol's one of those tracks. Anything can happen. We've seen drivers that dominated the race have issues. Either getting into lap traffic, issues on their own. While out front, anything can happen next week, and I cannot wait to get there. May see some tempers carry over from this week to next week. Who knows? But definitely one that you want to tune into.
Definitely it's going to be one to tune into, and as well, some other races you want to tune into this week. So us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, it is going to be race number 2 for the Wicked Racing League tomorrow night, as it's going to be the Nashville Super Speedway for those drivers. And I had to step aside away from racing. Honestly, it was for my own well-being, and I'm going to be in the booth. I'm going to be with the Wicked Racing crew. I'm excited to be in the booth to cover those guys. I was on track with them. Now I get to cover from an outside perspective. I'm so excited to see how those drivers run. And as well, more excitement, it's the ARCA cars on Thursday for the Stars and Stripes series, and then the full 24-hour event. We'll see how far they can go Saturday, starting very early in the morning. It is going to be our full coverage of the iRacing Daytona 24-hour special event, with the Category 5 esports racing team watching their journey for the full 24 hours. Will they last 24 hours, or will they be taken on lap 1 or at the very end, or could they win? You'll have to find out for the full 24-hour coverage. As a brand new thing here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, it is going to be a wild adventure, and can't wait to see how it goes, because I don't know how many of us are going to try to stay up for the full 24 hours. If we're going to sleep, we'll find out. That's going to be crazy. But Trevor, this is a wild week for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
Yeah, wild week. Definitely looking forward to it. Don't know how much I'll get to tune in Saturdays. I think my team that I'm running with, I think we're racing the Friday one, so might get to catch a little bit of the middle part. But I think when we're done on Saturday, it's going to be off to sleep for me to catch up after being up for 24 hours. But definitely going to be a fun week. Looking forward to it, especially Thursday. I love the ARCA cars and especially the schemes that they're running, kind of that old 2005-6 throwback style. Great racing all week at Freaky Fest. In the next week, looking forward to it. Can't wait.
And that's how this week is going to end on Saturday. But then we take off on that of Sunday. And we're right back to our weekly coverage of the ISRC Truck Series here Tuesday night. We're back for Full Send, Wicked, Stars and Stripes. Man, it is a great showing. And make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification so you get more of notifications on when our coverage starts up, as well as content that's going to be coming out. We know our top 5 series comes back at the end of the month. Our January top 5s, if you are still watching, hey, go back, look at some of our previous broadcasts, pick out what do you think is your favorite finishes of the month. We'd love for you to help us out. Go comment, hey, this should be 5th, this should be 4th. Give us your number on the finishes, and we'll take those into consideration for our top 5 finishes. But for tonight, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, for Robert Moyer, and everyone else that helps out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining us here tonight. We'll see you on our next broadcast. That's tomorrow for the Wicked Racing League.